Legend has it, there is a method to trap monkeys by carving 2 holes in a wooden board, just big enough for a monkey to slip its hand through. Behind the board, some peanuts are placed. The monkey sees the peanuts, immediately reaches in to grab them. As a result, its clenched fist holding the peanuts cannot pull back through the hole. The monkey keeps gripping its peanuts tightly and is easily caught by people. How pitiful for the monkey. The reason it falls into trouble is because it values food too much without considering that everything in life has many possibilities. The monkey is like that because it desperately needs food. The situation of the poor is often the same. I know your life is very busy. Even so, what I'm saying isn't easy to absorb, especially hard to master. If you only listen once, my advice is to watch until the end. Listen repeatedly many times. When you're free or doing housework, please share and save the playlist to make it more convenient for you. I'm certain that within a few short months, your mindset will grow tremendously, reaching a whole new level. The art of the ancients warmly greets you all. The poor lack money. This doesn't need to be said. The lack of money brings the poor deep suffering. This doesn't need to be said either. Therefore, the poor need money. That goes without saying. Even more, lacking money to the point of fear. The poor easily overvalue money. Focusing too much on money, they readily overlook things beyond it. The result is, the poor gain very little, lose a great deal. The mental harm caused by lack of money is often more terrifying than material deprivation. Jack London, in his novel Love of Life, wrote about the story of a lost man, this unfortunate soul, struggling alone in the wilderness, hungry, exhausted, lonely, desperate, alongside an old wolf, equally hungry and exhausted like him, always following him, waiting for him to collapse so it could eat him. However, in the end, it wasn't the wolf that ate him, but he who ate the wolf. The novel's ending shows this man finally returning to the ship, eating a lot, fattening up a lot. He kept eating. After eating, he went everywhere collecting bread. He gathered so much bread, stuffing every corner of the ship's cabin. Even though the bread had dried and crumbled, he still collected it relentlessly every day. The poor have a strong survival instinct. Their will to overcome hardships and struggles truly moves people, but the final result of their efforts might just be a pile of stale bread. The hungry often develop a starvation mindset, clutching a piece of bread and refusing to let go. Even when full, they can't resist hoarding, fearing a return to those hungry days. But when their hands are full of bread, they can't reach out to grasp other things. The result is, at most, they hold a few pieces of bread, nothing more valuable than that. The narrow vision of the poor often lies in the starvation mindset. The poor fear poverty, yet they dare not let go of what's in front of them to seek a new way out. There's a story about a poor man. One day his wife brought home an egg. The poor husband immediately said, "If we use this egg to hatch, it becomes a chicken. The chicken lays eggs, the eggs hatch more chickens. Then we use the flock of chickens to trade for a sheep. The sheep grows and bears lambs. The lambs are traded for a cow. The cow grows and births calves. We sell the cows to buy land, build a house, and then marry a second wife." He spoke with such fascination. Suddenly, his wife snapped awake and got angry, smashing the egg on the ground, shattering the husband's dream into thin air. This is a classic fable about the poor. That poor man might spend his whole life tormented with regret for letting his thoughts slip, causing his precious little capital to be destroyed, but he truly couldn't hold back. Years ago, Martin Luther King, with his words, "I have a dream," stirred countless hearts. The poor are human too. All the desires of the rich, the poor have as well: good food, fine clothes, a beautiful wife. Those are basic instincts. Why can't he dream of marrying a second wife? It's just that the egg hasn't even hatched into a chicken. The egg itself is still in his wife's hands, yet he's already weaving such glorious dreams. Whether that's appropriate or not, it's worth pondering. One cannot say the poor have no bright future, but the twists and turns of that path also need the poor to consider carefully. In theory, once a money-making model is found, capital growing exponentially isn't impossible. Many mythical tales of wealth, like Bill Gates for instance, started with capital as small as an egg. But in this world, there are countless poor people, countless eggs. Yet there's only one Bill Gates. Whether the next one is you, it's hard to predict. The smaller the capital, the greater the risk. When you only have one egg in hand, even a slight touch could make you lose everything. This is the weakness of the poor. Their starting point is too low. Even if you board an express train so fast it couldn't go faster, the growth of capital is like rolling a snowball. When the snowball is still small, no matter how frantically you roll it, compared to larger snowballs, your progress remains pitiful. The base is too small, growth is limited, both rolling to double their size. One doubles this, another doubles that. The results differ vastly. Moreover, when the weather changes, the first to melt will surely be you. Whether your snowball can grow large or not, that's a tough question. The poor often start with small businesses. Wanting to turn a small business into a big one is like turning an egg into a herd of cows. There are too many factors, too many steps in between. If you don't go through the entire process, you won't grasp the nature of wealth, you won't truly become rich. Even if you suddenly gain a large fortune, you won't know how to spend it wisely. Often, wealth is also a burden. Diverse no, if you recklessly dive into the deep sea, you might bleed from all 7 orifices. This is absolutely not a threat. The poor are at a disadvantage in most cultures around the world. Seating arrangements for dining, tea, or study all have certain rules. Those of high status sit at the head, back against the wall, facing the main door. This position allows them to observe everything. No need to worry about what's behind, easily grasping the overall situation like a general in the army. In contrast, those of low status are forced to sit at the lower end, completely disadvantaged compared to the head. They can't grasp the situation. When food is served, they must carefully avoid, lest it spills on their heads. The poor are much the same, always at a disadvantage. When danger strikes, they're the first to bear the brunt. When benefits come, they're the last to enjoy. This is hard to avoid. Everyone wants to sit at the head, but not everyone can. If you don't carefully assess the reality and stubbornly take that seat, even if not asked to leave, you'll end up making others uncomfortable. The poor's status determines they are the weak, lacking the favorable conditions of the rich, so whenever society shifts, they're the ones hit hardest. Whenever opportunities arise, even those meant for the poor, they only get a tiny share. Looking back at history's revolutions, aside from a few who rose to glory, most poor people as a class remained poor in the end. The poor wanting to get rich, to move from the lower end to the head, it's hard to rely on sudden events. Even if successful, that wealth is hard to sustain. They must rely on long-term effort across generations like waves sifting sand. Most sand gets washed away, leaving only a little gold. The poor are forever weak. The poor, overall, are always in a weak position. They remain the weak forever. By the way, allow me to announce our new channel, The Art of Wealth, dedicated to the topic of wealth-building mindset, career development, creating prosperity and riches, related to money and assets. Channel details will be in the comments below. We hope for your support, dear audience. In the stock market, small retail investors always perk up their ears for news, hoping to ride the coattails of big investors. But the result is often, they're led by the nose, becoming plump prey. Big investors in the stock market, to put it plainly, are those capable of stirring the market, organizations, speculators, or the listed companies themselves. Their goal in joining the market is just one, to make money. So who loses money? The stock market isn't a money printer, it's just a place where money flows, either from your pocket to theirs, or from theirs to yours. For a long time, rumors have circulated about how big investors make money. It's through nurturing, luring, and dumping, exactly like dealing with prey, in a scene where everyone wants to profit. Who's the ass? To nurture, lure, and dump? The answer is all too clear. Many write books, articles, guiding small retail investors on how to counter big investors, summing it up in 2 methods, fundamental analysis and technical analysis. However, for an average worker with little money and a fixed work schedule, where do they find time to study mountains of documents, to predict the moves of big investors, to outsmart trained experts, and make split-second decisions? Dancing with wolves, the likeliest outcome is being eaten by the wolf. Small retail investors and big investors, they're not even in the same league. It's not just a difference between an arm and a thigh, different status, different abilities, different environments and conditions. The information both sides access is forever asymmetrical. What they know, you don't. What you know, they've long known. The price chart says it all. You can only guess the cause from the displayed result. By the time you figure it out, it's all settled. You have no chance to fight back. Not just in the stock market, but in most other markets, the poor, as investors, are more or less at a disadvantage. The information asymmetry leaves you unable to assess risks, always in a state of being exploited. Your own limited capacity also keeps you from competing with professional killers manipulating vast fortunes. They're a collective living off this trade. If you don't lose, they have no reason to exist. The weak in the stock market are the small retail investors. The weak in society are the poor. The poor are easily bullied, partly due to their narrow vision, partly due to their weak status. The poor are not safe. The poor have only a broken bowl. The rich have mountains of wealth. People often think the rich lose more easily. But the truth is, even the king of hell doesn't spurn a poor ghost. Even a beggar scavenging trash with just half a roasted bun in hand can have it snatched by someone hungrier. The poor have little money, but their ability to protect themselves is also weak. Every city has luxurious neighborhoods, homes of the tycoons. Envious eyes are surely plenty, but with sturdy iron gates, patrolling guards, infrared cameras watching which crook dares to strike. In big cities, rare is the person who hasn't lost a bicycle, but losing a car is less common. Losing a car is a big deal. It stirs up a lot of attention. The case might even get solved. Even if it's not recovered, insurance covers the loss. It doesn't affect them much, but losing a bicycle, who cares? For the poor, a bicycle is no small asset. Kings of old, cooped up in the palace too long, also wanted to step out for fresh air, to enjoy a taste of commoner freedom. So they disguised themselves as peasants, called it an incognito outing. The poor hear this, can't help but console themselves. Poor as they are, they're free and at ease. Even kings envy them, but they forget. Their burdens are very real. The poor's living conditions, far worse than the rich. The emperor, even in changed clothes, is still the emperor, flanked by a squad of guards, followed by eunuchs, pockets always full of money. He ventures out with a carefree curiosity, experiencing the so-called hardships of the common folk. Like city folks today, digest Swiss Army knives, gas masks, compasses, mineral water, heading to a village 20 kilometers from the city to feel the struggle. Even eating a meal of rice and veggies at a farmer's house is just to aid digestion. The poor's suffering, only the poor understand. Living long in chaotic, lawless, violent environments, the poor have their own philosophy of life. The poor often don't trust the law. The system is rigid, but those who enforce it are alive. In theory, laws are made to maintain order, protect the weak, but in reality, in both making and enforcing laws, the rich benefit more. In developed countries, every so often, in cities, news breaks of migrant workers unable to claim their wages, jumping off buildings. Legally speaking, this is clearly improper, but as migrant workers, can they afford a lawyer, even if a kind-hearted lawyer offers free help? Can they afford the steep cost of time? For those scrambling for every meal, the legal process is too drawn out. Before they win the case, they might starve. And even then, whether they'll get the money remains a mystery. The poor lack faith in the law. In their minds, pragmatism has taken deep root. The winner becomes king, the loser a bandit. They only see results, regardless of means. Thus, violence among the poor is especially terrifying. With little wealth comes little worry. Little worry breeds boldness. Boldness spawns many sinful thoughts turned into action. Slums in every city are the most chaotic pockets of social order, yet that's where the poor can only live. Men die for money, birds die for food. Wealth is often the root of disaster. But when wealth accumulates to a certain level, people become safer. Open a newspaper to the social news section, you'll see those killed, robbed, mostly the poor, the assets stolen, laughable in the rich's eyes. Yet someone truly lost their life for it. That's the reality. The poor are pitiable, their ability to protect themselves, far harder than the rich's. The poor are easily tricked. Street scammers often target the elderly and the poor. It's hard to imagine a rich person falling for petty cons in dark corners like card guessing, ring tossing, dollar swapping, hawking fake antiques. The reason people get duped is often greed, ulterior motives, or fear exploited by others. The truly rich have their own income streams, no need to dream of windfalls from nowhere. The truly rich, mostly seasoned and knowledgeable, have honed sharp eyes. Otherwise, how could they amass wealth? How could they preserve it? In the media, all sorts of get-rich-quick ads pop up, claiming you need little money, no high skills, no hard hustling, just tinker at home, and you'll strike it rich. How could anything in this world be that easy? These cleverly designed traps only ensnare the inexperienced poor craving wealth. In this world, smart people abound. If there's a high-profit, low-risk trade, no one needs to call, folks will flock to it. The result is that trade quickly saturates, profit margins plummet, capital flows like rivers, lakes, and seas. No matter how uneven the bottom, the surface stays level. Society's wealth flow is the same. No matter the trade, investment returns eventually settle near an average. If something can make big money with no competition, it only means the risk is so great, other investors shy away. Sitting cool and eating from a golden bowl doesn't exist. Risk and reward are always proportional. In truth, every scam has flaws. Study it closely, you'll spot them throughout the deal. There are always factors you can't control, key ones at that. If something goes wrong, it's fatal. That's the meticulous calculation of others. The poor, seduced by the illusion of grand outcomes, overlook the risks within. The poor, never seasoned in the capital market, don't grasp capital's nature, seeking nothing but profit. They think others are kindly liberating them. Too excited, they forget they're investing too. The money they put in, though not astronomical, is their life savings, nearly their entire fortune. A billionaire, if they invested their whole fortune, billions of dollars, would they not carefully survey, analyze, devise a perfect plan before acting? The poor, however, are reckless. Their heads heat up and they dive in. By the time they realize they've been conned, the scammers are long gone. What can you do besides cry to the heavens and curse the earth? The poor's initial accumulation is already hard. Scammed like that once in a lifetime, they may never rise again. As a poor person, what do you fear? The poor feel urgency too. They desperately want to shed their poverty's face. They're proactive, yet always fearful, for they've never held their fate, nor have commercial experience, like someone who's never used a computer, afraid a hard press will break the keyboard, or going online will catch a virus. In truth, it's not that scary. For the computer fearing, the key is plugging in, turning it on. For the poor wanting to start a business, the key is just doing it. Anything you do needs conditions, and fulfilling those conditions often takes immense effort, spans long stretches of time. Sometimes, before conditions ripen, the environment shifts, old conditions unmet, new issues arise, the result is still inaction. In the end, come what may, the poor spend their lives waiting for so-called opportunities, waiting for conditions to ripen. Hair turns gray waiting, heart ages waiting. In the end, even if conditions ripen, you no longer want to act. Opportunities don't come from waiting, they come from doing. If you don't act, you'll never have a chance. Just do it. Do it while seeking opportunities, do it while creating conditions, do it while fixing, do it while refining. As long as the big direction is right, what seems hopeless at first might yield beautiful results in the end. The Art of the Ancients team has launched a new channel, The Art of Wealth, dedicated to the mindset of getting rich, career growth, building prosperity and wealth, tied to money and assets. Hoping to help you more. Channel info is in the comments below. We hope for your support, dear audience. Thank you so much.